Hello everyone, this is Dr. Deeksha here. So today I've picked a topic which has gained interest recently called CHIP, clonal hematopoiesis of indeterminate potential. And now the reason I wanted to quickly review this topic for you is because it has featured in the current edition of Robbins. So let's begin. What does it mean? Let's quickly break down the word. Clonal means that there is a single clone of cells. Hematopoiesis is telling me that the cells of which we are looking at the single clone of are actually blood cells. Indeterminate tells me that there's some uncertainty. You guys have, we all hear terms like MGUS or, like something that tells us that there is not a very confirmed or a certain significance, but something is there. And potential means it looks to be important. So CHIP is basically when you have hematopoietic stem cells in the bone marrow undergoing mutations in some genes that I will tell you about, and then they form a clone, and the problem comes from this clone of cells. The definition of CHIP is, like I said, the presence of a clonal blood cell population, and the genes that they contain mutations of have already been recognized as a driver mutation for some other hematological neoplasm. So we know those genes, we know that they can be mutated in hemat conditions, except that we are finding them here in this condition where the patient is asymptomatic, there is no blood count problem, but there is a mutant clone in the blood. These mutations occur at a variant allele frequency, which is a way of measuring the frequency of a particular gene mutations in entire sequence. So that's more than 2%. And this should occur in the absence of any severe cytopenia or a disorder that has been defined by WHO. Again, this is basically telling you that there should be no abnormal blood counts and that there should be no fulfillment of any other definition of a WHO hemat disorder. Now, what are these genes that we're talking about? First of all, remember these are the genes that, like I told you before, we've already recognized in a couple of hematological neoplasms, including leukemias. And these are the genes that are involved in DNA methylation. Now, you will recall that these are the ones that then sort of control the expression of certain genes. So this is at the epigenetic level, which is so fascinating if you take a moment to think about it. That a couple of years ago, almost maybe a decade ago, this idea that the control of gene expression is actually contributing so much to cancer occurrence or cancer causation, because we basically held an idea of oncogenes and tumor suppressor genes, but this idea that at another level altogether there is a control of DNA expression, which is why so much is coming into picture now in terms of epigenetics in cancer. So these genes are also involved in DNA methylation, and the names of the three genes I'd just quickly like you to remember. Okay, don't remember C, okay, just C. DNM, DNMT3A, which accounts for more than 50% of the cases that have been studied in a couple of series. TET2 and ASXL1. So these are the three genes. If you might just come across these names somewhere, it should instantly tell you, okay, so these are the epigenetic causes of CHIP. Now, why is it so important suddenly? Why has our book included it? Why has Robbins included it suddenly? And why has this come into picture suddenly? Now, the reason it's come into picture suddenly is that once we found out that these are occurring, we found out that these are increasing in incidence with age, and almost it's actually more common than we think it is. And we are going to consider it now as a risk factor for hematological malignancy like myelodysplasia and cardiovascular disease. So it's not something to be alarmed about, in the sense that it's not like it's suddenly happening anywhere. It's a discovery that, okay, so we have another risk factor that maybe if we can identify, we can control, and then we can prevent diseases. Every discovery is good news. For exam going students, I know you all take all this in terms of, oh my god, another MCQ, but never forget that you're looking at things on a broader perspective. So every discovery is good news because it helps to uncover something that we did not know before. So remember, the reason it's become important suddenly is two things. It's a risk factor for MDS and cardiovascular disease. So let's see what's happening exactly. This is the bone marrow, and look, the bone marrow is saying, look, I'm making stem cells. and it makes the stem cells, and these stem cells are like, okay, now we'll go and make some normal blood cells. And these are your normal blood cells, your normal RBCs, normal WBCs, and normal platelets, which are doing their job properly, no problem, no fuss. Now imagine that there is a mutation, but not in all the stem cells, okay? Just one, just one. Remember, single clone. So, now there's a mutation, but in just one. So you'll have definitely a majority of the cells being absolutely normal, which will go ahead and go and make normal cells. But you will now have a clone of cells which have mutated. So this is the clone that will not be making normal cells. And now these are our troublemakers in terms of CHIP. So what will these troublemakers do? If they are not normal, there will be in this clone ineffective hematopoiesis, correct? But remember, in CHIP, the blood counts are still normal, which means there has to be another wave of mutations occurring in these already mutated cells. So there are more mutations which transform this mutant clone into a more troubling population, and that leads to an even more significant ineffective hematopoiesis, and now the blood counts begin to get affected, and that is when you will get myelodysplastic syndrome. So you can consider CHIP to be sort of like an asymptomatic precursor or risk factor for MDS. On the other hand, because of ineffective hematopoiesis, because of the fact that these are mutated cells, let's focus on one important group of cells, the mutant monocytes. And these circulating mutant monocytes will then go into tissues through blood vessels, and they'll form mutant macrophages. Now, when this happens, remember, these are mutant cells, right? So inherently, we have seen that they tend to be a little pro-inflammatory. Now, this has a very important bearing on on the manifestation, and that is consequences of pro-inflammatory nature of macrophages means that they will be atherogenic, because these pro-inflammatory macrophages will cause inflammasome-mediated endothelial injury. You will recall inflammasome from inflammation that everybody reads. The NOD-like receptor protein 3, inflammasome is activated, NLRP3, which causes interleukin-1 beta formation, and this finding is important because this gives us a target. So if ever we want to do something to maybe prevent atherogenesis in patients with CHIP, we have already uncovered a targeted therapy potential. Now this interleukin-1 beta, as you will recall, activates inflammation, and it also increases expression of P-selectins in endothelium, which causes more recruitment of macrophages, which, as you can see, becomes a vicious cycle, more and more trouble. So more and more endothelial injury. As I'm sure all of you know, endothelial injury is the primary reason or the primary beginning of an atherogenic process. At the same time, this probably explains why there is an increased risk of dying from cardiovascular disease in patients with MDS, because they're already carrying such a clone of cells. So what is the significance of knowing CHIP as of now? Other than, of course, it could be a potential question, both theory, practical, viva, anything. Remember that we are not going around looking for them right now. They are identified when DNA is being tested for something else. We do not have a testing protocol in place as of yet. They're working on it. And if CHIP is identified, then there can be serial blood counts to check whether the symptoms are appearing, and of course assessment for atherosclerosis in terms of other risk factors, and then the modifiable risk factors can be done. Protocols, like I said, are being made for testing and follow-up. And like I said, the more we know could be targets for treatment to reduce progression once CHIP is identified. So this was a brief overview of CHIP. Please like, subscribe, and share, and those are my references for the video. All the very best, and I'll see you guys soon.